Now, the next step is going to be for us to create a top network. But for us to be able to look at stuff properly, we're going to need the lighting, some sort of lighting on the scene. So I'm just going to click here on the skylight. It's going to add a sunlight and a skylight, and it's going to give us a better readability to the volumetric effects that we're going to be looking at. You have different levels of quality for the light, but I think this is going to be okay. The sun should be, we should have sunlight coming from there. So yeah, probably looking at it from something like this direction. Let's create a camera as well. Control, click on the camera, and this is going to rise. Let me lock the camera and kind of just this better. I think this will work. Disable this. Okay, so the next step is going to be for us to create a DOP network. I'm going to call this DOPnet pyro sim. Dive inside, and we're going to need a pyro solver. We're going to need a smoke object, which is going to be the same thing as we have a pop object. We need a smoke object to actually hold the information that we want. Then next we're going to be creating a volume source. And this is what's going to be bringing the information from our source into our pyro solver. So here you have sourcing, and here you have the object. On the pyro solver, one thing we can turn off is here on the combustion. Let's just turn off combustion. We're not going to be simulating combustion. Now let's go here to the smoke object. We need to have an idea of the size our simulation is going to be. Right now, if I turn on the grid, you'll see that we have this. This is going to be the container that's going to hold all the information of our simulation. And we need to establish what size this is going to be. So what size our simulation is going to be. Here on the size, one thing I'm going to do is make sure that it's always on the ground. So the center right now is at 0, 0, 0. So we'll just copy this size, paste it here, paste relative references, and divide by 2. That way we're sure that it's always on the ground. Let's give it a bit of height, say 4. We can actually, 4, something like that. And on the size here, let's say 2.5, 2.5, maybe 3. Let's use 3. Again, here on the division size, this is similar to the parameter that we have on the sourcing. Here on the volume rasterize, the voxel size. It's very similar. So what we'll do is we'll let the smoke object determine what's the voxel size on that one. So we'll copy parameters, and here on the source, we'll paste relative references, or paste relative references. It's fine. Now, here on the smoke object, I'm going to put this to 0.025. Let me turn off the grid. So right now, all we need to do to see something happening is make sure that here on the volume source, we actually choose the SOP path, give it a SOP path. So we need to indicate what's the source. Once we've referenced the source, we'll go here to the initialize. And even though it says source smoke, nothing is configured. So you need to switch this to something else and then go back to source smoke, and the preset is going to be made. It's basically just saying that grab the density volume from my source, put it on the density volume of the simulation through an add operation, scaling the values of 1. And that's everything that's happening here on the density, on the temperature, and also on the velocity, even though we don't have velocity in our sourcing, at least not yet. But it's fine, just leave it there. It's not going to find it. It's not going to do anything. Now with this set, we can hit play and start the simulation. It's going to go very slow because right now, even though we only have stuff happening here, it's actually simulating the whole box of the smoke object. one of the first things you'll learn to when you're doing this type of simulation is to use a resize fluid dynamic. And basically we're going to connect this here on the pre-solve. And what this is going to do is look at the simulation and see if we can cut out or exclude a certain area of this. And it's going to be analyzing, so we're going to be sourcing here. So it's going to just choose this area at first, and then it's going to grow with the simulation until it reaches this maximum size. One thing that you should do is here on the tracking object, we should always make sure that it's at least the size, the box of the simulation can be smaller, but it needs to be at least the size of the source. So here we're gonna give it the source again, and you'll see what happens. So when we hit play, it reduces the size to the simulation, and now it's much faster because it's actually calculating a much smaller piece of simulation. One thing you can do if you have a good graphics card is here on the advanced, you can turn on OpenCL, use OpenCL. This will make things faster because it's going to use the graphics card to do the simulation. And you can see it's much faster. The result is pretty much the same, slightly different, but it's going to run much faster. And now we have our first pyro sim. I'm gonna reduce the timeline length. Let's just go with 120 frames, apply, close for this introduction. I'm gonna save the file, and on the next lesson we're gonna see how we can make this look a bit more interesting.